on An Actor Despairs. We have awesome musician back, Erick Eiser, in residency here in An Actor Despairs. And today we're going to be listening to a song, When I Look You in the Eyes. I've been so excited for this one. Erick is here with me in the monologue. Erick, what's up, man?
How's it going, Ryan? Thanks for having me back.
Dude, such a pleasure. This song it's a hit, man. Before, we're about to play it for everyone. Anything you want to say?
Well, it's a second single that I've released off of
hit single.
Forthcoming. I'll take that. Yeah. Sure. I don't think I can say that, but if you want to say that, then I totally
it's a hit.
Accept that. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ryan. So it's a second single that I've released off of a new EP that's coming out this summer. Yeah. So I will be releasing a couple more, and why don't we listen to it, and then we could talk about it. But it might be cool for people to hear it and then kind of have their own judgment about it.
Cool.
Before I start gabbing away about it.
So here we're going to listen to When I Look You in the Eyes by Hornsby, whose real name is Erick Eiser. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Oh
And we're back. Dude, fucking love that song, man. It's so amazing,
Thank you.
and the texture and lyrically, I think that's why I love your music, man. Is like I I grew up listening. We talked about this probably in the last podcast, Chris Cornell, and there's this interview with him that I love where he talks about, because he was a poet almost, I would say, Cornell. And
Mm-hmm.
he would say that people would often come up to him and would say, "Hey man, like what's your song about?" Or "Hey man, I think, Black Hole Sun is about this." And he would say, I love that. Like, I don't want to tell you what it's about because whatever you think about is what you get. That's what you own from the song. And whatever I say is just going to interfere with that. And
Yeah.
I'm going to contradict myself here though, and ask you, what is it about? And you don't have to be specific. You can be broad if you'd like, because it's very
Uh-huh.
lyrically, it's beautiful and it's so deep and existential.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, obviously, I know you're in a relationship. And she worked on the song as well, didn't she?
Yeah, she did help me. She helped me come up with a melody for it, and she was just kind of, it was in this early stages where I had music and sort of a groove, and I was just kind of searching for a melody and rhythm, and she just kind of was riffing over it, and I just grabbed something that she was doing and I just kind of expanded on that and wrote the song from there. Elka, yeah, she was definitely really helpful in
So,
terms of helping me. Yeah,
I'm sorry to
go ahead.
interrupt.
No,
What?
no, I wasn't gonna say anything more enlightening. Just gonna keep rambling. So go for it.
So what for you? Man, everyone's, as an actor, obviously you need text to be conceptual with a character, but for musicians, you are literally creating it from nothing. So for you, I imagine it changes for every song, every piece of music. Like, what was the impetus for this? As you were creating this EP, was there
Hmm.
was there a need for, like, I don't know if I want to call this a ballad. What would you say, it's a ballad or?
I don't think I would. I don't think it feels like a ballad. I do think it's kind of it's got a mellow vibe for sure, and the sentiment behind the song feels sort of a little dramatic, and it's a love song.
Yeah.
So maybe it has some ballad esque moments or
Sorry
aspects
if
to it, but
if you don't like that. I didn't mean that in a
no,
bad. Yeah.
at the same time, like you said before, whatever it makes you feel and however it feels, it's subjective to a certain degree. So it's not like you're wrong to feel like it's a ballad, or whatever you feel, or whatever the meaning is to you is real. And so I in the same I think that maybe I wouldn't be surprised that if a lot of artists kind of, they are reluctant to explicitly say what any of what their art or what their songs are about necessarily. It reminds me of something that somebody once told me about Beethoven. He played one of his compositions on piano, and so the story goes, and then the listener asked, "Oh, what? That's beautiful. What is that about?" And he just looked at the person and played it again. So it's kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is that it is what you experienced is what it's about. And so, but I do think that this song, it's not, like a song like you mentioned, Black Hole Sun or something, that has sort of a more of an abstract sort of lyric to it, which it's when you listen to it, there's nothing super direct about it, that on hearing it for the first time, that you might say that this is definitely about this,
Yeah.
whereas like a song, The Needle and the Damage Done, a Neil Young song or something, you might know, oh well, this is obviously about his experience and with friends or people he's close to, struggling with addiction and heroin, and that so there are, there's more obvious themes, and sometimes songs are more obvious in their theme, and sometimes they're more abstract.
Yeah.
So I would say that this one probably leans on the side of less abstract.
Yeah.
And I think that to answer your question about the impetus or where it came from, I think that at least for me, when I go into write, I try not to really like have like, okay, it has to be this, or I'm looking for this type of song, or I don't really do that. I just kind of just go in, and I think that there's things that I'm inspired by, or like, I heard this melody that I really want to try, or like when Elka was singing that melody, I was like, oh, I think that rhythm would work really well for this. So there might be some preconceptions that you have going into it, but really there's not like a set of parameters. I think it's just like melody and harmony and rhythm, and you're just sort of, it's like what I used to say in another band I played with is like, we used to say we're going fishing, meaning like we're just trying to create, and we're either jamming, or we're playing a riff, or we're playing chords, or humming a melody, or there's lyrics and melodies and harmonies all flying by, and you're trying to grab onto it and make sense of it all.
Yeah.
And then organize it. And then that's kind of just what happened with this song. And then you find a line, or you find some words that you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder what that means, or I wonder what that could mean. Do I need to rework that at all to have it make more sense? And so this, I think this is a love song for sure, but I think that I just thought it was interesting to maybe explore the idea of, being in love but like, it can be painful to be in love, or it can be someone can devastate you. You can be in love with someone to the point of devastation. It's not necessarily that they've done anything wrong to you, but if you become infatuated with someone, totally. we've all
that's
felt that.
Literally what I took out of it. It's funny you say that. Yeah.
So, I don't want to, again, explain it too explicitly, but I think that's kind of a theme for sure. And the fact that Elka is singing on it, and she's my fiance, and we're engaged. So that in itself, I felt like the song is special and has sort of a passion to it because of that, so it's really cool that we were able to collaborate on that together.
And I'm curious, man, because you did mention you played in a band for so long, and this is your first solo project, right? Or have you had one under other names before?
No, I've always just collaborated with other people, and so this is my first solo project. Yeah.
Amazing. And I asked that for, when you are creating, songs for said EP or album or whatever conception it becomes, there's no parameters really, because it's your first thing. I mean, obviously you have styles that you like, and I imagine that you want to bring to something, but for this, did you have an idea of like, I need to achieve this, and this, or was it not that rigid?
It wasn't that rigid at first, but I think once I started to collect sketches or demos and finish songs that seemed to be, because for me, I never just like finish a song and say like, okay, that song's definitely going to be, I'm definitely going to release that. I think that you write, and then you have a collection of songs, and you're like, okay, I think it's getting close to the time that I want to release something. And these are the songs that seem to reflect what I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, and I think that I feel like it's a balance of setting parameters, but also having a freedom within those parameters, because like you definitely, or maybe you don't definitely, but for most of the artists I listen to, there's a cohesion.
Yeah.
That's apparent. And so I felt like for me, it was exciting. One of the themes I thought would be fun to try would be to incorporate different styles of music in a way that didn't seem absurd to a degree, that felt fun and still felt cohesive and connected. And so I experimented with that, and I thought it would be fun to have some abrupt twists and tempo changes, and like the feeling of getting lifted out of something into a completely different sort of feeling or vibe. And so that was definitely something that that happened naturally, that I felt like was really exciting. And so I then pursued that sort of idea more.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like is that a bass at the very beginning?
Yes, the first thing you hear is drum machine, bass. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I've broken 2 pairs of headphones listening to that. I've jammed the song that hard. It literally blew
Nice.
one out each time. But
Yeah.
I love that intro. You know, man, like bass is, you know, I mean, you were in a big bass band that was great, but you know, I feel like bass, you know, other than Death from Above and maybe a few others, it's such an
Yeah.
overlooked, amazing thing, and it can set such a beautiful tone. And you with your synth experience, you know, as you kind of were starting to develop this, did you? I mean, there's so many different iterations of what you can do with a synthesizer. I mean, it's almost infinite. And I'm curious, you know, how did you find the synth for this?
Yeah. So I think that, I have some synths that I really love. Like one of my favorite keyboards is a Juno 6
Yeah,
that I have. And I just love it because it feels, uh, I don't know, it has a retro quality that I really love. And other than that, it's like one of my favorite sounding synths. And I think it's pretty versatile. And and because I use it so much, it's challenging. I like the challenge of trying to make it sound different than what I've already gotten out of it, because it is so simple. And it doesn't save any presets on this particular synth, which is exciting. So that, you remember certain settings and you remember what it sounds like when it's on those settings, but it also feels sort of a new experience when you're just diving in and twisting knobs and pulling up faders, pulling down faders, and changing envelopes. And so I think that's kind of the mentality I go with, is like, yeah, that this song kind of started with a loop, that beginning loop that you hear
yeah, I love that loop.
with that bass line. And then I think I just kind of, basically what I do a lot of times is that's how that song started. So it could be, some songs start on a piano and then I have to arrange it from there. But this one started like that. And then I was like, okay. And then so I just kind of jammed along to that rhythm, and I came up with a chord progression. I just found a sound that I felt like that fit, what was happening in terms of the groove and the foundation of the spirit and the heart of that feeling of the song, which is the drums and the bass. And so the Juno is a huge part of that. The
Wow.
Juno 6 is a huge part of that. And so then from there, it's just like having fun and stacking parts in a way that you feel is exciting and fun. And so, yeah, that particular synth was used there. And then I have like an old Casio CZ1000, which is like a really cheap little Casio, but I think it's really cool. And I use that on this as well. And then yeah, this one is sort of a little bit simpler and not quite as dense as some of the other songs on the EP. In terms of instrumentation, there's like 4 or 5, instruments going
Wow.
on, which is, yeah. So yeah, I think that probably answers the synth question. And then my buddy Emil, who does film scoring, kind of helped with some of his orchestration, which it's not, it's kind of subtle, which happens in a bridge element of the song where it's just an instrumental
Yeah, I
sort of,
love that.
yeah. So I
And
thought that was
at the
fun.
end, it kind of becomes a symphony, the synth, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
right. The end there's more Juno happening and some
yeah.
psychedelic guitar,
I love it.
yeah, it kind of went into a double time sort of feel.
Yeah,
It's
it
just,
changes time or tempo, right? You know?
yeah, it
Yeah.
goes into a kind of a double time feel there. And yeah, I just thought it was exciting. And I kind of there's something interesting, like the synth line in there. Well, I don't know if I don't want to give it away, but there's a cool little um, synth line from a Grandmaster Flash song that I really like, but I
Nice.
won't. Yeah. So, but I just, just things like that where you're listening to something and you're like, whoa, it does, like, it's kind of bizarre to think
Subliminal.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
you might not think, like, why would that work here? And it's just like, whoa, that actually works perfectly. So I think like taking fun little references like that and sprinkling them into the songs that I do in a way that I felt like it's not like these songs, like there's nothing about my music that's connected to Grandmaster Flash at all, other than I just really like him, But and then so I that's what I thought I found fun is to maybe take references like that might seem like they don't, like how would that, why does
Yeah.
that work, or but then in a different context, and just you're taking melodies and fun ideas from other music and sprinkling those references in. So that's something that I definitely did on this track.
That's amazing. And you know, man, I hope you don't mind the comparison, but like I love Glass Animals. I think they're such a cool band. And you know, man, I was listening to an interview with the singer, and I didn't know this about them because their lyrics, you know, aren't as coherent and as narrative as yours, but they're
Hmm.
kind of the stream of consciousness. And I never understood that, but they talked about how they just wrote the music first and then just figured out what lyrics could fit in later, you know? And for
Yeah.
you, did you have the
Hmm.
music configured, or were you writing the lyrics as you were writing the song?
Well, that happens in different ways for me. I don't necessarily have a formula in terms of you know
It's not
having
paint
to
by
have music
numbers
first.
of doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I usually don't like to have like a complete structure in mind until I have at least, until I can see the song clearly, even if I maybe the lyrics need to be reworked, but I don't necessarily like to set anything in stone until like I can picture like what the song's going to be. Um, but so, like a lot of times I'll have like chord progressions and then melody and lyric will just kind of come out at the same time. Sometimes, or, for the most part, maybe there's some tweaks and whatnot, but, and so I have like collections of that. And then sometimes I'll try to see, does that work with this groove that I have? And like, sometimes it'll start with the chord progression and lyrics and melody, and it'll be more of a traditional way of like sitting down with an acoustic guitar or piano, and then transferring that to synthesizers and drums and bass and all of that. But with this one, it did kind of, the inspiration was from the loop, and so I think that this one kind of unfolded in a way where it was a lot of music before lyrics came. But usually the lyrics are not that far behind the melody for me. Usually, like I like to kind of put words to the construction of the melody, or like
Yeah.
as I'm finding the melody, like certain words will pop out and certain words just naturally feel good with the melody, and sometimes that needs to, like I said, needs to be tweaked to make any sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of like a line sticking out and being like, oh, like for example, I Just Want to Die kind of just fell into that melody, and I was just like, oh, I really like how that sounds, and I really like that lyric a lot.
Yeah.
And then so that was sort of the heart of the song and the heart of the lyric, and then it was just like telling a story
Yeah.
behind that lyric, and making that and giving that lyric more meaning.
And was it more on the the binary of love turning into beauty and turning into dark, or was it about mortality, or was it about all of that?
I think it was just tapping into that feeling of like the anguish or the
Yeah.
anxiety that you feel when like something is, when you fall in love with somebody and you have like to be lovesick. It can be exciting, but it can also be, um, painstaking and like
Yeah.
and scary because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And so I think it was like, it was diving into the darker side of that, and like finding something. I don't want to use the word negative, but it was just more interesting to me to go that route than to put it in context of like of a joyful, or the feeling of joy or having joy in
Which
that
is
regard, because
I
that
love how the song ends, because it does really kind of end on this like kind of
it,
like I don't know, almost like dark dance number. You know what I mean? It's like awesome. You know?
yeah, I guess it
Yeah.
is. And then there is a bit more of a sort of uplifting element to that. And I don't think I necessarily uh like, for me it's not as important that every single like element of it is connected, so is entangled so literally.
Yeah,
into the
that's why I
theme,
love it. And I
you
think
know.
that's why it's a hit.
So,
Yeah, that's amazing.
but yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, so I think for the most part, that's how in terms of the lyric and the feeling and the sentiment of it, that's sort of how I arrived at it.
Amazing. Well, obviously, I know you're an incredible musician and very accomplished, and you played in bands. But what's it like finally coming on your own and having to do the drum machine and do the bass and to do the
Yeah,
guitar on your own? What was that
it's
like?
fun. Oh, it's a lot of fun. I think, and collaborating is also really fun as well, and I love doing it. I still do it. But yeah, it's a challenge. But yeah, it's especially when everybody that I am friends with that makes their own music, everyone kind of plays a little bit of every instrument, but everyone also has like their instrument which they have played the longest. And so I think it's exciting to explore an instrument that you weren't necessarily have as much experience on, because that's when sort of you're relying really on your intuition, and to be responsible for every part and every layer is a challenge, and it's really exciting, and it's just fun to pick up a bass or to sit down at the drum set and be like, what can I do with my
Yeah.
with the skill set that I have on this instrument, and not without having as much experience as, like, say I do, that played keyboards and piano my whole life. That is a challenge, and then sometimes, but that's where I think a lot of I've noticed about my friends' music as well. That's where some of the most interesting instrumental parts are created on an instrument where they might not have had as much technique, or because they're relying purely on something that's catchy or sounds really good, and so sometimes that limitation can be helpful.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's layered and texturized so beautifully, it was like so seamlessly. Did that always kind of did you get the sense and the melody and all that and then kind of figure everything as it went, like it all just fits
Yeah.
together so synergetically and it's a beautiful piece, man.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, there's a process to it, and there's a process to discovering the ultimate way that you want to present it. So, like we were talking about how this song was built, in terms of having a loop and having a groove, and then coming up with a chord progression and a melody. And there's times where, like, I can distinctly remember just looping that 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 groove and that loop, and sitting down at the piano and just hammering out the chords and the melody. And that's, there's like a little bit for me with the Hornsby music. It's not always just purely about the song. It's about, like, there's a lot of music in the song. So with the two singles that have been released so far, this one is more closer. It's closer to a traditional song, in terms of, like, you could pick up an acoustic guitar and play the song. But I think that it's a little bit more, and I'm hesitant to use the word orchestrated, but, like, in terms of, like, um, the Hornsby music, it is orchestrated in the sense that there's themes and there's chapters to the songs, and you know uh, it's not just the song element is
Yeah.
present, but then there's an extension of music and themes that you dive in and slip out of. So with this EP, it's like that. And so I always have moments where I feel like I'm writing a song right now. I'm sitting at the piano listening to, like, the foundation or whatever sparked the idea, which could be a chord progression, it could be anything, but for this particular song, it was the loop. And so I'm writing the song. I have this exciting sort of music, and I'm writing a song to it. And then once you have that, then it's like you start getting into production. Okay, like, what, I have this melody and these chords that I really like. What am I going to play those chords on?
Yeah.
And then I was like, a Juno would be cool on this. And so you experiment with that, and then you're like, okay, I found the sound I like, and so what am I going to play? How am I going to play these chords? And then finding how you want to compose the instrumentals to the song, and then you have it, and then you have a structure, and you have, like, oh, like what if I went into double time at the end? That sounds fun. And then you just jam over that. I'm going to take a guitar solo. I'm going to put in some psychedelic feedback, and, just have fun with it. And then you go back through and you kind of listen, and you have a structure, and you have like, okay, this is there's the song, I can see the song now. And then you just start carving things out, and you're like, how can I make this more exciting? And maybe I should insert an instrumental section to break up the vocal. And then from there you just start to listen to it and come back to it every day, and then see where it's at, and then you just keep refining it and taking things out or adding things, and trying to create something exciting out of the mold that you have, or the skeleton that you have. And so that was kind of the process for this song, and that's the process for a lot of the songs too.
That's amazing,
so
man.
Yeah, I feel like there's thanks. There's an element of I like, for another project that I'm working on right now, it's all song based. It's just like sitting at the piano and writing songs.
Not Hornsby, you mean?
Not Hornsby. Yeah.
Okay.
And then but with Hornsby, it's always like, oh, so that's what it feels like to write a song for this like short window. I feel like there's windows of songs in the Hornsby music, surrounded by chapters of music. That's kind of how I would maybe describe the Hornsby stuff. So
amazing. And I'm curious, once you have the I don't want to call it the rough draft, but a finished draft of this, how long before you let someone listen to it, or is it a pretty private process for you?
I probably only have like 2 or 3 people that I play music for in unfinished versions, just because you like, well, for many reasons. Like, I think that you want to try to you don't want too much outside influence to affect, like,
drive you nuts.
And I think it's important to stay true to like what you're after, and sometimes that outside influence can be encouraging in the wrong way, and it can also be damaging in the wrong way. So I think that for me, there's like a group of friends, 2 or 3 people that I can get a read on, honestly, how they feel. And not only that, but like, you really have to trust the person's taste and instinct. And even if and then like, if there's an interesting thing that happens as well, is like, if you know somebody really well, why they won't like a certain part of your song. You're like, they mention it, you're like, I knew that they were going to say that. But then that either helps you to realize that
you were right, or you
were right. You were right, and you should keep it because the reasons why they don't like your taste differs. It's a difference between your taste differing and like something maybe not being as good as it could be. So that's, I think, sharing with people whose taste you understand and respect, and but I think it's really important to have that as well. I don't think I could do it without somebody, because sometimes you just have no idea. You get inside your own head, and you're like, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if this is really bad. And then sometimes and then sometimes you're really excited about, but like, it can be, you just go through all sorts of different psychological sort of elements that block you from understanding if what you have is any good, or what you even think of it. And so sometimes outside ears can be really telling, and it just gives you a fresh perspective on what you've created, and also the honesty. I was talking with a friend, and we were talking about like being truthful and honest, and that's really helped me a lot. When someone says, when someone that you really trust says, like, when something is not as good as it could be, or they don't feel connected to it in a certain way, that it's only ever helped me when someone gives that brutal honesty. So, and that's not something you get a lot in when you're sharing music with people, because if you don't know someone that well, you're not just going to say, actually, I didn't like the bridge that,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? Like, that's kind of mean. So, it's like, unless they're like, they sit you down and they're like, I really want your honest opinion about this. You can't, it's not really polite or appropriate to just dive in. So what's the point of even playing it for someone then?
Yeah.
That's my feeling. If you're not really going to have a serious conversation, and then like you learn from doing that, and then you're just like, I don't think this person really knows what they're talking about, or like, I just don't have, maybe my taste doesn't align with this person. And so that's why I think it's helpful to have like a small circle of people that you really trust, that they're always going to be honest with you, and whose taste that you respect. And maybe you like the same movies, or maybe you like the same music, and you just kind of, you understand that person.
Yeah. And then I'm curious, the final stages of this, when you send it off for mixing and mastering, or do you do that yourself?
I don't, like, engineering is not my strongest suit. I like producing and recording my own
Yeah.
music, but I always like to get another set of ears on it. And I like to get it mixed and mastered separately.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah,
awesome,
my
man.
buddy Matt, my buddy Matt Koenig, who he has a band called the Undercover Dream Lovers, who I play keyboards in. I've written a
Oh,
song with
nice.
him, and we're really great friends. And he is, he mixed the entire EP, and so it was, we used the same software, and it was just like, and he's really great. And I thought that he really, he did an amazing job, and he put in a lot of time and effort into it. And I think he was, he put passion into it, and that's, I felt like, a big reason why the songs sound the way they do. And it's kind of like having a second producer.
Yeah.
I think mixing to a large degree nowadays is essentially, because digital recording is so much easier now, and anyone can kind of learn some basic things about recording. And then once you're able to lay down some tracks, and you have something that, and you have music and a song that you're happy with, like, a mixer is sort of almost like a producer, in a way of bringing those sounds into another realm of fidelity, where things either, they can achieve the sound that you're really after, and make things sound bigger or smaller, and sometimes give some arrangement advice as well. And so, yeah, I think it's helpful to have someone mixing. I mean, there's people who do everything on their own as well, if that's something that you prefer. But for me, I definitely like having that set of outside ears, to help sort of see if they find the missing pieces, and sort of bring the sonics to life.
That's so beautiful, man. Well, we're gonna obviously have you back, and as you're in residency here. What's
Awesome.
next?
Well, I have another song coming out in a couple weeks, Until I'm Gone. So excited to release that third single. And then I'll release a fourth single a few weeks after that. And then finally the EP will be out.
Amazing, man. Well, I'm
Yeah.
super excited to have you back, but I feel like it would be wrong not to play it one more time. So now we're gonna play it again, but with everything that we just said, anything you think people should look out for, or maybe pay attention to?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Ryan, and
Yeah, of course,
playing the
always,
song
dude.
for everyone. But I would just say, if you like the song, you can find me on Spotify and Hornsby, and I think Bandcamp, and wherever you stream music, YouTube, Apple Music, all of the streaming sites. So I encourage people that to follow me on those streaming sites, and if you enjoy the music, to check it out.
Amazing, man. Well, add the playlist, share the song, and here it is again, When I Look You in the Eyes by Hornsby, aka Erick Eiser. So much love, dude.